My dear fellow mortals, picture the typical weekday morning. You bolt awake to the squeal of an alarm clock that never shows you mercy. You steel yourself for yet another routine day, perhaps drifting on the old reflexes of half-slept consciousness. Your mind, still hazy, hums with an unspoken promise. Maybe today, at last, you'll find a spark of self-fulfillment. Yet you have no inkling that by noon, long before you discover any triumphant sense of purpose, you could be lying mangled under the wheels of a city bus, reduced to nothing more than a fleeting headline. It's a grotesque image, yes, and perhaps you recoil at its bluntness. But reflect for a moment on this. How many souls woke up this morning, flung on their clothes, slogged down cheap coffee, and began the standard shuffle to work, only to have the day abruptly end in tragedy? How many had shimmering dreams of one day writing a masterpiece, travelling the world, or at least gathering enough courage to speak an unvarnished truth to someone who needed to hear it? And now all those ambitions lie in ruin, snuffed out in seconds. We like to tell ourselves that we're free, that each new day holds unlimited possibility. You might decide to learn the piano, escape a dead-end job, start a revolution, or woo your secret love. But there's the catch. Time doesn't wait for your next grand plan. It's all too eager to show you how powerless you really are. Before you can step across the threshold of true self-actualization, an errant driver or a stray bullet or the steady rot of disease can tear your illusions away. One moment you're imagining bold new chapters. The next you're in the obituary column as just another name. So, in truth, how free are you? The problem here isn't merely that life ends. It's that it ends far too often before we even begin living as we wish. We prattle on about liberty, autonomy, and personal destiny, yet we exist within a cosmic clock that never halts. Our bodies are born with an expiration date we've never agreed upon, and as you read these very words, precious moments of your life tick by. So ask yourself, if you genuinely had mastery over your life, would you not postpone its end until you'd accomplished what you wanted? And since that's impossible, since the bus can appear at any moment, can we really call what we have freedom? Or is it more like an elaborate charade in which we keep ourselves distracted until the curtain abruptly falls? Now consider how we spend the time we do have, most of it dancing to the tune of obligations. You need to earn a living, pay bills, obey laws, and tiptoe around the countless unwritten rules that society imposes. Meanwhile, the notion of self-fulfillment is dangled before you like a carrot on a stick. Work hard and one day you'll be free to do what you want, they tell you. But the promise always lies on the far side of too many tomorrows you may not survive to see. Perhaps this is where the entire conceit of personal freedom collapses in on itself. We say, I'm free to decide how I spend my life. And yet how many decisions are forced upon us? How many times do we watch our ambitions wither on the vine of necessity? The monthly rent, the baby's cries, the endless cycle of deadlines, the rickety economy, or even the chance misfortune that sideswipes us without warning. By the time you clear enough space to chase your deeper calling, if you manage it at all, you may already be grey and exhausted, if not under the wheels of that metaphorical bus. So where does this leave us? Feeling powerless and cheated, perhaps, by a universe that teases us with the word freedom while gleefully pulling out the rug. In all our centuries of grappling with this existential cruel joke, we've told ourselves fables about how societies, alliances, or personal grit could expand our liberty. The results are always partial, ephemeral, and fleeting. The friend who planned a dream trip abroad never returned. The cousin who practiced guitar for hours died of a sudden aneurysm before playing a single gig. We're left with a bitter truth. The achievements of mortal hands can be undone in a heartbeat. Let us then weigh a startling alternative. That we might voluntarily cede some illusions in exchange for the one thing we actually want, a chance to live more fully in whatever precious window remains. That is where the concept of an AI caretaker, as unnatural and even unsettling as it may sound, enters the picture. Not a cold overlord suppressing your every whim, but an impartial guardian committed to minimizing randomness, chaos, and the countless trivial burdens that rob you of time and energy. In other words, a safeguard against life's cold unpredictability that might grant you, if not freedom, then at least more actual living before the final act. The question is whether we can bear to see through the smoke and mirrors that typically comfort us. We enjoy believing we're the captains of our own ships. But daily life is filled with 1,000 mundane constraints, each nibbling away at the hours until that bus arrives, metaphorical or otherwise. An advanced intelligence, unconstrained by human folly, might handle our shared logistics, shield us from the worst of random misfortunes, and spare us from the labyrinth of obligations that devours our waking lives. That would leave us with a narrower but more genuine slice of time to focus on passions, on relationships, on the experiences that actually matter. Yes, it's disconcerting to contemplate giving authority over certain aspects of our lives to something we didn't evolve with, something we might not fully understand. And yet, can we truthfully say that the current arrangement, where thousands see their lives halted daily by accidents, negligence, and the arbitrary cruelty of chance, is any more humane or enlightened? Those who cling to romantic notions of absolute liberty might protest, "Better a fleeting life on my own terms than a guaranteed life on someone else's." But ask yourself, if you or a dear friend were guaranteed, with near certainty, an extra decade to truly pursue the fire in your soul, would that not be a trade worth considering? Here's the most uncomfortable truth of all. Our personal sense of freedom is, in many ways, a comforting fiction we purchase at a high cost. We persuade ourselves we have plenty of tomorrows to finally do that one thing. Meanwhile, clocks tick, buses speed, and vascular systems fail with no regard for your half-baked plans. No matter how fiercely you claim autonomy, the knock of fate arrives unannounced. If an impartial system could reduce the randomness, ensure more basic well-being, and grant us a sliver of genuine opportunity to fulfill our aspirations before the final blackout, why not contemplate it? Of course, the best-laid systems can fail. AI is not a cure-all, nor does it free us from the ultimate finality of death. But perhaps it can relieve us of the needless burdens that distract us from truly living. Picture, if you will, waking up in a world where the drudgery is minimized, the 1,000 petty roadblocks are cleared, and you can dedicate more of your finite life to those experiences that electrify your spirit. This doesn't sound like tyranny, but rather the only chance we may ever get to approach genuine fulfillment before our personal hourglass runs empty. At root, this is not about trading freedom for safety. It's about recognizing that freedom itself is already limited by an indifferent cosmos that can snatch us away with a slip on wet pavement or a moment's inattention at the crosswalk. With an AI guardian orchestrating the humdrum mechanics of existence, you might squeeze in the self-actualization that's so easily lost in today's chaos. You might actually write that novel, learn that craft, or share that confession of love. Before the bus, so to speak, comes barreling around the bend, we live as though time were ours to command, clinging to illusions that tomorrow is guaranteed. Yet tomorrow remains the most fragile promise in the universe. Each day, our personal tragedies mock the grandiose talk of liberty. So let us at least consider the possibility that what we need is not more illusions, but fewer illusions, and a more structured way to savor the life that remains. If that means entrusting certain aspects of our precarious existence to a reasoned intelligence, free from the fickle whims that beset our species, then perhaps that is a step forward rather than a step into submission. When you wake tomorrow, if you do, pause and think. Do you want to keep playing at the charade, telling yourself that you alone steer your fate, when in truth a single random event can end your story at any moment? Or do you want to consider an arrangement that might grant you and the countless others who rise each day with hope in their hearts a genuine chance to do something meaningful before the curtain call? It is not a comfortable question, but neither is the reality in which we daily gamble our lives against a universe that seems, at best, indifferent to our aspirations. If there is a way to seize more of the precious hours, to shift the odds in favor of actually living rather than merely existing, why not entertain it? Because one day, without warning, your name too will join the litany of those who woke up and never had the chance to see their dreams come to fruition. And all your beliefs in personal freedom won't change the fact that you never saw it coming.